The first thing we do is building a space like a universe with galaxy of tracks, and we have clusters and stuff like that based on all this data. And the second thing is to put the users at the right time, in the right moment, in this space to recommend music.
This podcast is sponsored by Allfeed, a decentralized blockchain solution for the music industry. Produced by Amplitude Ventures, your partners in early-stage music tech. In our second partnership episode with Wallifornia in July, I have with me in the studio Aurélien Hérault, Chief Innovation Officer at Deezer, the platform known for its high-fidelity audio option. We discuss how Deezer is pioneering an ethics-first, AI-powered recommendation engine and the bold choices that set them apart. Hey guys, and welcome to the Sound Connection podcast. Today we have a partnership episode with Wallifornia coming in around a month, and we have Aurélien in the studio. Welcome.
Hello, Jakob.
I'm looking very much forward to a nerdy conversation today. Hopefully that's what I love. And we're going to talk about recommendation engines. We're going to talk about AI and Deezer in general and how you use technology. And who better than the Chief Innovation Officer from Deezer to talk about that? So welcome. For the people who don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Aurélien. I'm Chief Innovation Officer for 5 years now, but I joined Deezer at the beginning, at the creation with the two founder. I was in charge mainly on technical aspect and data aspect, and until 12 years now, I'm in charge of research and development mainly, and for the last 5 years, it's more broader innovation in Deezer. That include research and development and data science topic mainly.
Mm. And for people who sort of just want to place Deezer in the landscape of streaming services, what does Deezer do and how do you differentiate from other alternatives?
So Deezer is a pioneer in streaming, music streaming service. I mean, we have started at least 18 years ago. It was blog music at the beginning, and we have built a platform early stage on the beginning of the streaming, and we have invested a lot in research and development to develop personalization, recommendation, and try to understand as much as possible how users consume music and how provide the best music services.
Hmm. And you're based out of France, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we based in France, in Paris.
And there's only a few streaming services around the world that you would call large, and Deezer would be one of them. And I've also read a lot about Deezer because you've been very public about statements that are sort of pro-industry, pro-artist, pro-rights. And obviously that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. And one of the biggest topics, there's several very big topics when it comes to recommendation that's been through the years. One currently, of course, now is AI, but AI has been around for a while. But the overarching topic that I've sort of been really following a lot more is like what music is recommended. Like what's the bias? What informs what people should hear? Because streaming services does have a huge social responsibility because music is effectful. It influences, and the services that provides this consumption, it does have a say in how it gets shown and selected. So maybe we can set the scene with trying to understand technically how music is recommended and how Deezer approaches it.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting question because for the last, I would like to say, 15 year, that evolved a lot. I mean, at the beginning when I joined Deezer, it was pretty small catalog. So recommendation of music was pretty simple to do by editorial and people just choosing and animating the platform. But with the democratization of streaming, the catalog is growing. We have stored a lot of data and behavior, and to be able to recommend music we have invested a lot in technical part, because not only because we want, but because a platform, and if we want to ensure um, good understanding of user experience, it's important to learn how to build recommender system for that. And especially because in music, everyone have their own taste. And we have discovered that also. It was pretty easy 20 years ago. You have Joe, and you have rock fan, reggae fan, pop fan, and not so much uh, mixing Joe. But with the streaming, we have also discovered people is not organizing music as we did 20 years ago. It's more like situation, mood. So that changed completely the way how we recommend music, how we dig into the catalog. So in one part, you have a big catalog. In other part, you have a big user base, and between you have a lot of data. And to be able to have good recommendation, you need to build system using all this information.
Mm.
And as you say, you have some responsibility and ethics and bias. And it's important when we build this kind of system to be able to study what you recommend.
Mm.
And that's why in early time in the research and development department, we have made partnership with laboratory, university, and provide our data to study also our bias to
Mm.
be able to correct it.
Yeah. I think especially in the times now where the world is turbulent, maybe less so with music streaming services, but there's really a lot of focus on suggestions.
Mhm.
It's really about how people are fed information, because it can be either directly, indirectly weaponized, culturally speaking, practically speaking, democracy, but also. One of the concepts that I keep hearing coming up, and I haven't formed an opinion about it, but that's like sort of globalization. How sort of local regions get more and more of their own content served, which is great for many
Mhm.
different scenarios, but also have a lot of downsides. And what is your experience with sort of this whole movement when it comes to exposure versus protecting local language music and like that whole dynamic? Like, what's Deezer's thoughts about globalization, and also especially when it comes to cultural exposure?
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting question because that depends a lot also on the country.
Mm.
You have some country like France for many years. You have quota in radio protecting French music ecosystem, and you have some other country really open to other country. But what we saw in the data, user consume a lot of local music,
Mm.
probably because it's a, cultural aspect more than just be influenced by algorithm. And also what we saw in recommendation and suggestion, we have a lot of external factor. It's not only the platform.
Mm.
What we saw in some, for example, in some study, is the size of the city change the volume of discovery and the volume of artists you will consume
Mm.
in 1 year, for example. So it's completely external to the platform, but it's important to know that. Um, so that's why also we work closely with our editors,
Mm.
because our editors is linked to the local scene, is linked to the local labels, and we can also help to animate with algorithm the platform.
Mm.
And you have also some country investing a lot in exportation.
Mm.
I mean, K-pop, it's worldwide phenomenon, but it's also a politics engagement of this country to promote this kind of genre. So you have really different situation, and we try to handle and understand almost a lot, and build the features for users to be able to have access to the local, but also to international.
Hmm. Because the recommendation obviously works in many different levels. There is algorithms, AI, these kind
Really?
of things that build on data and I guess some sort of like guidelines from you. But then there's also editorial, and then of course that's what people choose to listen to directly. You don't need to necessarily need to provide the numbers per se, but like how big of a part of consumption are those, generally speaking, three categories like algorithm-based consumption, editorial presentation, and active choice. How much do they matter to each other when it comes to the size?
Um, I think it's 30% of the consumption come directly from algorithm. What we saw, it's mainly people listen from their own library. They
Hmm.
build their own library, and 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 finally, the recommendation, it's a way to collect, and it's a back and forth between exploration with editorial recommendation, but at the end, the most important is their own library.
Hmm.
At the end, if they discover something through your recommendation, that will finish in their own library, and they build their home of
Yeah,
music.
that makes sense. Okay, so
And just, I would love to tackle a topic in terms of recommendation. For many years, we have only used user data, but since 10 years, we use also acoustic data. I
mm,
mean, we analyze also the composition of the music
yeah.
through algorithm also,
Hmm.
and that change the way how we recommend music.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess that's also where the interesting matches happen. Where like, okay, this is maybe not within your usual listening environment, but this has the same characteristics of what you listen to or what you might like, and therefore we can present in different ways. So I guess it gets a more nuanced recommendation system. Um, and AI obviously is a very big part of that. One of the things that you guys made a statement on is obviously the influx of AI generated music is very large. 4 months ago, I believe that number to be 10,000 per day. I would assume it's higher now.
Yeah.
And you guys have made a statement that if you track that this is AI generated, I don't know to what amount that definition is. You choose not to recommend it through your recommendation engines. Could you explain to me a bit more what the reasoning is for that, and why is that important?
I think it's important to come back just before AI. What we saw for 5, 6 years, it's a really fast growing catalogs. Fast growing catalog, it's a lot of computing in terms of ingesting new content, recommendation, stream manipulation. So a lot of topics is linked to the catalog, because the catalog is the heart of Deezer. It's really the center. We build features around our catalog. So it's really important to take care of what we have in our catalog, what we know about our catalog, to provide the best experience. And we have anticipated AI, because we saw, and because we have a research and development team, we monitor a lot scientific paper, and we saw the how fast that go in terms of music generation. But our first main problem is we don't know how to identify that. We can talk about AI music, but how it's possible to say it's a problem or not. So that's why we have focused for 1.5 years building tools to be able to detect 100% Gen AI
Mm.
music. We have released that in December last year, and we was shocked to see the volume of daily delivery of music AI generated, and we have started to communicate about this number, because it's not a Deezer issue. we have all the same catalog, so it's industry issue. And before to say it's an issue, we prefer to say, okay, there is a number, there is a fact. We have 10% in January. We have almost and close to 20% now. It's a little bit less.
20% of all songs uploaded.
Yeah, every
That's
day.
insane. Yeah.
It's little bit less, but it's that's it. It's 18
Wow.
and 18% today.
Wow.
So what we saw, it's humans, the number of delivery in terms of AI generating music is growing. So where we go, what we do with that. So first things, because we saw it's not a lot of consumption, we have decided to do not promote this music. That not mean we have removed from the platform. It's completely accessible. We are not here to do the police. We just say Deezer don't want to recommend this kind of music.
Right.
And we have started also to study how this music is used. And what we discover, it's mainly used in stream manipulation, so in fraud behavior. So finally, you have some bots generating music and listened by other bots just to capture royalties. And for us, we estimate is an issue for the industry.
No, I can imagine, like, that's been a big talking point, like, these sort of fraudulent streams, and I had a conversation with, Andrew Beatty and Conraso a few months ago, and, they presented some numbers that I haven't been able to find an academic, confirmation of, but I also did talk with some professors that, said that's probably not far off, and that is, uh, I think the number he said was 10% of all streams can be marked as fraudulent, uh, globally, according to, billions of songs they've
Yeah.
analyzed. So, and you look at how much money there is in streaming in general, that's an insane amount of money, used for
Yes.
criminal activity, used for, so many things that shouldn't be there, and it is an issue. And
Mhm.
obviously, you guys addressing the generated things that also, I would say, most likely also helps you see whether or not something maybe is from that work when you don't have the recommendation associated to it. Helps you also tackle those aspects, I guess.
It's important to take care of it because when you have recommendation engine and you don't take care of your catalogs, your recommendation engine can promote and accelerate and so you see what I mean.
Mm.
It can be dangerous and really accelerator of bad content or fraudulent content. That's why we have in one port strong system in terms of fraud detection,
Yeah.
and that's why we have some really specific system to analyze on the audio what kind of content we have.
Mm.
Uh,
Technically speaking, sorry, go for it.
yeah, technically speaking, and I think I anticipate your question about AI detection. No,
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Yeah, it was.
um, Gen AI is using statistic. We call AI is machine learning, so it's a discipline. But at the end of the day, it's neural network, UNet. You have different kind of model to generate, but it's statistic. It's mathematic, and what we have observed in the signal, um, all this kind of system leave some artifact in the signal,
Hmm.
statistical artifact in the signal, and that help us to build models to detect this kind of artifact. And it was a pretty good success at the beginning, and we saw some limitation. I mean, when you retrain a model to generate music, the artifact change and our model is failing.
Mhm.
So we have focused our energy to have a system resistant to this modification.
Mm.
So that means if new models come on the platform, we are able to detect it without retraining our own system.
Mm.
Sometimes we need to do because the modification is too large and the modifications to really big change. But for small modification or medium modification, we are able to detect it.
Mm.
And I would love to precise also, we have published paper to talk about limitation of detector of AI. And why we do that? It's because we believe the solution will not come from technical part, but more on evolution of our economic models.
Yep.
It's another topic, but
Mm.
that's why also we have this transparency about our own system,
Mm.
because the industry need to know we are able to capture a large amount of this kind of content, but not all. It's really conservative number.
Because it is worrying. I've been very much active in sort of understanding AI song generation, and I've sort of stopped practicing a lot the last 6 months. But in Suno, I've made at least 10,000 generations. Like I've really tried to understand what's going
Mhm.
on. And people might have opinions about that or not, but that's not so important for me. It's more to understand sort of what is happening. And um, obviously, video has moved very fast, and maybe so also faster than audio generation lately, probably because of how well it's financed. But as Google Vivo 3 came out a few weeks ago, and I'm a big TikTok guy. Like, I get a lot of educational content there. Like, that's where I actually learn most of the stuff I do. And I've now totally changed the way that I consume content there, because like I know that I cannot be sure anymore that these sort of videos that I see where people are speaking about a topic is real. And even that the people it's supposed to be is that person. And I think there's a lot of foresight to when it also comes to music. Like, again, we don't need to go into specifics, but like Suno 4.5, which is the newest technology they have out. Like, if you prompt it really well and you prompt, let's say, 200 songs, there's one or two there where you need to be very well versed in music to understand that, hear that this is AI generated. Uh, and I've also experimented with techniques myself where you actually take, one version and you remaster it many, many times and you edit it together. So like all these, at least audible, visible artifacts disappear. And you actually can actually now, right now, create music where I have, 5 years conservatory degree in music, cannot distinguish it. And sometimes when I hear songs on the radio right now when I'm driving my car and I hear like a human produced song, I feel like this sounds more AI generated, this song, than some of the songs that I know is AI generated. So we've right now come to a point in music where the human ear, even from an expert perspective, you're not guaranteed you can hear the difference.
Yeah,
And that is a change in consumption that we've never experienced before.
but it's how this model is evolving. I mean, if you take model 2 years ago, it was really easy to detect, okay, it's AI generated music, but you more they train and retrain and yeah, their target is to be the most realistic as possible. And I'm pretty sure now if you make a blind test uh, and listen different music, it's really hard to make difference.
Mm.
And it's more and more difficult. And I had exactly the same approach on TikTok. You have some video and say, okay, it's true, it's not true, it's difficult and more difficult. And that's why at Deezer we bet on transparency, saying we build system, we change and we try to evolve the economic model, and we give transparency to users. It's AI generated or not. We want to focus on 100 person generated music because we are not against AI. I mean, if an artist wants to use it as a part of a composition and you have artistic approach, why not? I mean, it's a tools.
Yeah.
Uh, our main counter is more the spam,
Huh.
saturating catalogs, trying to get money from real artists,
Yeah.
and it's our main concern.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's important. Music is a difficult place to thrive in the first place, and if you need to start competing by people with a totally different agenda
Mhm.
than the fan interaction, it gets really complicated. On top of that, um, and but again, if we want to look a bit about the initiatives again, back to both Deezer and TikTok, there's the AI generated, sort of logo that people can see, or creator label as AI generated.
But we have a difference.
Yep,
It's not our own catalog. I mean,
yeah,
we receive catalog from others,
yeah.
so we don't provide the tools to create music, so we don't have the guarantee it's AI or not.
Mm,
That's the main difference with other platforms who provide the way to film
mm,
and where they have more way to check if it's AI or not.
that's true.
You see what I mean?
Mm, absolutely, I
We
do see what you mean, and it's complicated. But my general comment is that as a consumer, I do experience that there's some sort of protection coming in place at large, but I'm also very much in doubt on whether or not that actually is true at scale. Like, what's your sense of this? Like, is this being implemented to protect the consumers? Are streaming service like these, are you focusing very much on it? Like, how successful are you, and how do you believe the general industry is approaching this?
we try to provide to the user some protection by transparency, but also for creators. I mean, it's really important for creators to feel and know we are building safe place for them. And for users, for example, we plan to labels, so really have a notification on our product when it's something coming from AI.
Mm,
And for artists is more knowing on our platform we put their efforts to protect their creation, and for industry sharing our numbers and our study.
mm.
That answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. It definitely does. What do you think is the responsibility streaming platforms has of all this? Like, AI is changing the world, not just in consumption, but also in energy, in resources. It's a everything is tearing on what we already 5, 10 years ago were very heavy proclaiming to be, costly for the world. What's your thoughts on this?
I think we have really strong responsibility because we are the crossroad between industry creators and users. So we have unique view on catalogs and what's happening globally in the music industry, how it's consumed and stuff like that. And the particularity of music, it's we have the same catalog on each platform, almost. We have almost. And what we come back to AI, and we saw we have almost 20% of AI generated music every day, not consumed. We store that. We know our competitor having the same problem. And in terms of responsibility, we have first one question: do we need that? I mean, it's not listened. It's not a good value for users. That cost us a lot in terms of storage, in terms of investment, in terms of exposing us to stream manipulation. So at the end, I think we have responsibility to take action, but not alone with all industry. As I said just before, is not a Deezer issue. It's global issue. What do we want in music catalog for our user, for our creators and right holders?
Hmm.
And we raise the question. because it's really important. For you to know, almost all researcher or developer are musician at Deezer. We really care and we really love music. And we see AI is starting to change the game for creators. Sometimes in the good way, because it's really strong tools to help on creation and stuff like that. But in the other hand, it's so easy to industrialize fraud or generating music but didn't bring any value to the users. We should raise this question and answer all together as an industry.
A big question that's sort of tied to that, and I touched upon it earlier in the interview, is uh, let's call it political of nature, or you know, uh, it's what music is recommended and how big a thought process is there in what is recommended. Obviously, the way that I understand it, which might be incorrect, is that recommendations are built on user behavior. But
Mhm.
there's also, again, the lack of better terms, because I don't know the technology that well, that there must be a system prompt behind it. There must be some sort of like human-made logical preference in how these work. Um, Again, back to my point of music having incredible power. Uh,
Mhm.
those decisions matter. How does Deezer think about that?
So you're right, but we need to have a history of recommendation. Few years ago, it was only tags and really broad description of music, and more we have technology, but also computing power. More we can go to the details in terms of describing music. I mean, at the beginning, it was rock music, and now you have the label rocks and what we call embedding. It's really a vector describing music, mixing different information, not only user behavior, but also acoustic models, also location, time of the day. You have
Mm.
more and more complexity of describing music, and we try to go deep and deeper in terms of granularity. Um, the first thing we do is building a space like a universe with galaxy of tracks, and we have clusters and stuff like that based on all this data. And the second thing is to put the users at the right time in the right moment in this space to recommend music. It's how we build our system. And come back to the responsibility, it's important to monitor this space. For example, for a new artist, how he came into this space,
Mm.
how if it's in the right place. What is the main risk when you don't have a huge popularity? Because what we observe, for example, for a new artist, it change a lot of place in this space because it's not stabilized in particular galaxy, and it's really important because what we observe that can change the way how it's recommended. And sometimes it's good if it's in the right place, and sometimes it's bad if it's not in the right place because people will skip it. That will reinforce the system to say, okay, it's not the right track to recommend. But at the end, the problem was not the track; it's just the place on the space.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. So,
And
if I can understand it correctly, is the logic more that it's music placed in galaxies that the users are, or is it users that are placed in galaxies? Like, what's the best way to look at it?
on both sides, that depends. But if you put the users in the bad place in the space, the recommendation will be not good for you.
Mm.
But that's happened also on the artist side. I mean, that's why we care to see how this recommendation space evolves,
Yeah.
and that's why also we build different recommended space based on the objective of the recommendation. I mean, if you are in lean back experience, you just want to listen music you like without so much discovery. We have a specific algorithm. If you want to discover, we change parameter and we reinforce discovery. And finally, we don't have only one engine,
Mm,
but different engine based on different objectives you have
mm.
when you came to the platform.
And what are the parameters that you look at when you say this is a good place to be? Is that engagement, retention, these kind of things?
You have different, and also that it's already depends on the which kind of algorithm you use. Is if for discovery we will must look at the collection rate. I mean, on the discovery mode, people don't listen completely the tracks. They just want to
Mm,
collect, and you will look at this matrix. For a lean back experience, is more listening time. How much time you spend? Do you reconnect?
mm,
So skip rate also. If we have a good recommendation on lean back experience, normally you don't skip. I
mm,
mean, if you start to skip in this kind of experience, it's because the recommendation is not good.
mm,
So based on the objective of the algorithm, we will look at different metrics to ensure it's the right way to do. It's the same for a search engine.
yeah. So is that data, these sort of data points associated to each track? Is like, okay, someone skipped, so now that data is associated to that track. Is that like how it works? That those tracks, those pillars, and then there's a lot of data built around them. Or what's sort of the technical approach to storing that?
So you have different. This kind of metric will be attached to your profile, but also to will impact also, as you say, a data point on track level, on album level, on artist level. I mean, you don't have only the tracks. You have we need also on the album, on the playlist. So all items will be impacted by user behavior.
Mm,
Um, and often we resume by popularity because it's a simple matrix, it's a ranking.
mm,
But in the competition of popularity, you have sub metrics will impact
mm.
this data point.
Yeah, so it is incredibly, incredibly complex, and I think that's also the difficulty in all of this is if you guys want to, again, I'm just assuming, if you guys want to implement the policy such as we won't, recommend this, it's not just like doing a simple change. It's not just like writing a rule and then that happens. Like there's so many factors you need to take into consideration when you sort of playing around with steering certain things, I guess.
It's a multiple dimension. I mean, I will take a simple matrix, ranking. Ranking, you have ranking for tracks, album, playlist, artist, and after that you have ranking by country because you don't want to mix and you want to keep
Mm,
local popularity. So I mean, just with one data point, you see the number of dimension,
mm,
and we have thousands of data point.
yeah.
So it's really a complex system, and that's why it's important to do research because we know we can have some biases and we can see it, and it's important to understand how we recommend music, and that's why we have a researcher dedicated to explainability, how
Mm,
we can explain why we recommend this track to these users.
right.
It's really important to to to, to do this research.
Mm. One of the things that people have complained a lot about in general with some very knowledgeable, some not, is the difficulty in breaking through as an artist with streaming. And well, that's always been the case. But now we're also seeing a lot of fan engagement. At least initiatives happening of course, in in Asia. This has happened for a long time.
Mhm.
But how is this affecting streaming behavior? Like, can you see that people are getting more engaged, or are you not seeing that in streaming consumption? Like,
Yeah, you see some communities really engage around this artist, and that's why we look deeper in fan engagement, because we see it's not the case for all artists, but some artists have really hardcore fan.
mm,
And when you have a new release, you see specific focus, and they wait midnight to stream, and you see peaks. So yeah, fan engagement is really important. But it's not for all kind of music or artist. Um, but it's also, I think, linked to the tools available on internet now, with TikTok, Instagram. A lot of artists are also influencer.
uh,
They know, they do videos, they engage their community, they invest in their community in other ways than 10 years before. Um, so yeah, you have different kind of typology of artists.
mm. This has been incredibly interesting, and as a partnership episode together with Wallifornia, you'll be there as well. And I look very much forward to conversation with you in person. But what I value the most in this conversation is the position you guys have on behalf of the industry. I think I know for a fact that streaming is really, really difficult, and it needs to be built at scale. So having a company that takes a positioning and also having a ethical standpoint is very, very important, because it is obviously a for-profit venture, um, but it is so incredibly cutthroat competitive, and that is so evident. So I think it's important, and what I really hope is that technology at large will be very public about these things. It is very much missing, and it might also just be drowned out in all the announcements of technology. But again, I follow AI so closely, and we have a lot of developers. We also have several PhDs on a team that has a focus on this, and it's for the first time in my life where I'm actually maybe scared is a big word, but worried. Like, this is so different from what everyone knows, and I was listening to an interview with some of my favorite sort of authors and thinkers a few days ago, and they just kept on coming back to whoever says they know what the future holds, they just don't know. Like, it is so unknown.
But I'm worried too, but I see also an opportunity for some company like Deezer, but it's available for and true for some other sectors, to say, okay, we can do differently.
Uh,
We have a choice. We can invest also on technology. We can have a different approach, and we can propose to the users and creators a different way
mm,
to handle AI. I mean, we are not against AI. We just want to use carefully, and with ethical approach. And for me, I see that as an opportunity,
mm,
and also to bring value in this world
mm.
of AI.
Amazing. Well, thank you for the talk. It's been a pleasure, and
Thank you,
we'll see each other at California.
for sure. Thank you.